It's the weekly wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Timslagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Timslagle on the weekly wrap, and now it's time even for my favorite part of the show, wherein Tim reveals what's in his background. And I'm going to say it's the freezing temps of Iowa for the caucus night, and it's colder than Nikki Haley's wit. What, Tim? What do you got there?
Yeah, you're very close. I am in Iowa. Looking. Seeing my reflection in a snow-covered hill.
Really? Is that serious? What?
No, it's Costa Rica. It's a landslide. Get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looked too warm. Looked too nice. It was better than Iowa. I'd rather have a landslide in Costa Rica and be blocked. And are those are cars behind there? I thought there might have been some donkeys and carts and things like that. But no, all right, excellent. But speaking of Iowa, so you get 5% of the electorate showing up, and that determines everything. But why not? Trump did.
Well, it wasn't that. Usually the turnout's like 150 to 170,000, 170,000. So it's not. It's not. They're definitely underselling it.
Well, right. I mean, it was like what, about 100,000 that they had.
115, I believe, which is about two-thirds of what they normally get.
Yeah, you're right. He won.
And they called the race. They called the race a half hour in.
Well, here's the
before
thing.
Some people even voted.
Well, that's a problem I have, because I remember Brett Baer's texts and emails in that libel case that showed that he was trying to slow walk the Arizona results, even though everyone had already voted. That was the problem then. But people had already voted. Now, I'm sure it was not just Fox, it was AP, it was everybody that called this before the voting was even done. I wish I were a host at AM 560 on Friday, because I think they have Brett Baer on every weekend. I would certainly grill him about who he likes in the American Express golf tournament this weekend. Brandel Chambly is going to be doing analysis. I wouldn't ask him about that, because you don't want to jeopardize a relationship. It's all about scratching each other's backs. I understand that, but I mean, I guess you could justify calling the race before people have voted, but weren't there still was like a battle for second place, which kind of matters in the feng shui of electoral politics.
It only matters if you think he's going to prison.
Well, right. He's got to die, go to prison, something like that. Now, here's a tweet from Steve.
We don't have ranked choice voting yet. So
right. So Steve Kornacki, who's of MSNBC, and he wrote, "I don't think I buy the Trump status as a former president made his landslide and current very strong position inevitable. When the race began in late 22, early 23, his polling with Republicans was shaky, and he even trailed DeSantis in some. Republicans really were rattled by the 22 midterm." Yeah, but that was, as John Podhoretz reminds us all the time, that's when Brett Baer should have been a Republican who pounced on a fellow Republican and actually run against Donald Trump. He didn't run against Trump. As a matter of fact, now he sounds like he's running against Trump a little bit, even though he's totally out of it. It's like now DeSantis is saying stuff like, well, we're going to be preoccupied with these court cases and everything like that. And that's and those actually could hurt, because I think there's been polling that shows that if anybody gets a conviction, if any one of these 5 crazy trials, and they're all nuts. I mean, the Fani Willis thing she's the one who's going to wind up going to jail, not Trump in that case. But if any one of these results in a conviction, that could tip some of those independent voters, and in a close election, that could do Trump in. No?
Yeah, I still don't think so. I still think that's already been baked into the system.
To the cake.
Yeah.
Now, New Hampshire is coming up, and it's there's crossover vote there.
It'll be over by the next time we get together, won't it?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
Yeah. The election will be over. The entire election will be over, because it's conceivable Nikki Haley could get a crossover vote, because independents and Democrats could vote for her. And
well, ABC has been saying for the past several days that she's within single digits of former President Trump.
Here's the thing: the marching orders from the Democratic Party would be, "Don't vote for her. We don't want to face Nikki Haley." So
you think? I think they'd have much easier time with Nikki Haley.
That's not what any of the polling shows.
No,
you may be right,
but they haven't gone after her yet. They haven't. You forget.
Well,
you forget with this. You forget when this machine gets into full gear.
Right.
I still remember David Letterman doing a thing, doing a shtick with he had a little toy car, and it's like, oh look, here's Mitt Romney with his dog on the on the top of the car, woof 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 woof, and then they had a barking.
Oh no, they will go after her, and the thing is that, I mean, that's why you get Trump, because we know how they went after Romney. I mean, you couldn't get a more clean cut American than Mitt Romney, and they demonized him.
Or McCain.
McCain. Well, that thinks a lot. Trump right in there with them. I don't like captured war criminal. I mean, the thing is if I thought Trump were really joking about that, I would laugh at it.
I think he was. I think he was joking.
I don't think so. Anyway, speaking in along that line, so Pritzker, he's fat, by the way. Let the record show. He always want to preface.
He's not Christie fat though.
No.
He looks at Chris Christie and said, "Wow, what are you doing? You look great."
Yeah, exactly. So he says it's simply a question of whether you like your MAGA Trump agenda wrapped in the original packaging, or with high heels, or with lifts in their boots. So when you blur the distinction between Trump and Nikki, and for all I know, he could have said, or from a guy who grew up in a log cabin. He could have lumped all Republicans together that way. And that's the problem with the Democrats. I mean, that's what they do. We know that they're going to smear any Republican. And I think it was Noah Rothman who said, the thing is that the Democrats like to say that this singular menace out there that must be destroyed, but then they lump every Republican in with him. So how could it be one singular sensation? I really don't
that's
know.
the thing. That's the thing. Nothing sticks to him. I mean, I think that's much of the reason why he's so popular. No matter what they throw at him, he's truly Teflon. He's truly the Teflon Don.
Well, I don't think he's Teflon, but I think there's a limit to, and then there's a boomerang effect as well. No, I mean, look, like we say, it's baked in. We know what it is. But there might be that. The polling that I've seen that if they get one conviction for some reason, I mean, why is anybody independent to begin with? So
that trick never works this time for sure.
So well, we got a second. So Trump is in court right now on it's really hard to keep these things straight. It's the defamation case from the woman that he was found liable for sexually assaulting.
Yeah, because after he was found liable.
So now it's a defamation case. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think he has the same attorney, this hot chick, that he has in like at least one of his other cases. But those are completely different kinds of cases. And look, I know, as an attorney, I know personal injury attorneys who, they'll try an automobile case, but they're not going to try a medical malpractice case, and it's all under personal injury. These are disparate areas of the law. Tell me she's not actually trying all this stuff that I'm just not reading past the tweets. She's probably
just the front. I mean,
that's what I'm thinking.
He's got an army of attorneys.
Yeah, I'm thinking, because I even read some of the a little bit of the briefing, and it didn't sound. That's the picture of her, and she reminds me more of Paige Spiranek, that buxom golfer that's like the most popular golfer on Twitter. Sure, I'm glad I put the W. I'm glad I put the W in there. I was really worried about that. But yeah, and then apparently she doesn't even know how to enter documents into evidence, and and then she's got the cockamamie theory that there are no damages because Jean Carroll 5 hours before Trump said anything, had that opportunity to say something, but that's not going to fly. I mean, who cares?
Was it her that had the problem with the evidence? No, I heard it was the plaintiff she deleted some emails.
Well, that's a different problem. But
that should have. Apparently she's claiming she got death threats, and then the judge said, okay. "Well, let's see those emails." And she goes, "Oh, I deleted
all I can say is the more pictures that Chris puts up of Trump's attorney, the more I find her convincing. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, I think that's probably why he's doing it. It's like, oh yeah, like I'm going to go after that in a dressing room when I could have this.
Yeah, like that's the way it works. Okay, not having that mind, I don't really know. Yes, it's almost like she's smiling at me right now.
You're the one who brought up his hot attorney. I didn't even know. He had a hot attorney on this case.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, here's a nice, cute little grin I have for you. Wonderful. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap.
Tell me, as a woman of color, it would not matter what I did. My motive, my talent, my ability, and my character will be constantly attacked. First thing they say, oh, she gonna play the race card now. But no, God, isn't it Debbie who's playing the race card when they only question one?
And there was Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis claiming all attacks against her and Trump prosecutor Nathan Wade are based on race. Willis is accused of having an improper romantic relationship with Wade. She's now facing accusations that she paid her alleged lover $100 more an hour than an expert RICO prosecutor who was also working on the Trump case.
Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. So, yeah, I mean, there must be a disease among people who try to bring Trump to justice, because it's just, don't go there. It's you're in the temple of doom right now. I mean, this Fani Willis, she may go to jail for bringing in boyfriend.
Both of them. They would both, unless one flips on the other, which very good right. Chance.
Right.
It's
I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, it's one thing after another. Now,
and it's I'm a black woman. You can't. What'd you expect?
Yeah. Right. Oh, well, no.
Excuse me. If you were white, that would be racist.
No. I'm thinking Fani Willis for president of Harvard. Yeah, she just seems. Yeah, no, she got the patter down really good.
I don't think I'm going with that. I mean, after what we found out about her, I'm not going with that pronunciation anymore. It's
oh, okay. What
I think it's Fanny. It's got
yeah, I would think so too. Meantime, all right, if we want to get into the weeds on Georgia. So I read this piece by Brad Raffensperger. You know who he is, Secretary of State of Georgia. And it was just because I think Trump is still trying to say that the vote total wasn't right in Georgia. But as Raffensperger points out, because he showed all the numbers, it wasn't phony Democratic ballots that put Biden over the top. It was legit Republican voters who left the presidential line blank. Now, unless you're willing to say that they somehow Stratomatic or whatever the name of the voting machine company was, unless they somehow erased the Trump vote from those Republican ballots, I think we got a problem in Georgia, at least. No?
Well, two things. Number one is, have the actual ballots been audited? I think not.
There was an audit in Georgia. They had a count.
There was an audit. There was an audit. They went over the machines again. They weren't allowed to actually look at the actual ballots, if I'm not mistaken.
They audited, and it showed. I mean, I remember them going over the audit because I wanted there to be I believe there's an audit. Well, Chris is saying there was a recount, not an audit. There was definitely an audit. There was maybe it wasn't an audit of every single vote, but pretty sure there was an audit in Fulton County. But let's,
But my point is, do we actually see these ballots that he claims exist?
So you're thinking Raffensperger is lying when he says
absolutely. Raffensperger is a never Trumper. There's no
and never Trumpers
question
are liars.
What? No. They got to cover themselves.
It never could be the evidence. Well, they got to cover that. Means they're liars. Never Trumper, by definition, a never Trumper is a liar.
Okay, he didn't want to look. He did not want to. He did not want to look too. He did not want to look too closely.
I think he did look. Well, he did. But this is you're making up facts, not an evidence. You don't know that he didn't look. He did look. Here's the thing. Which means since I'm not a never Trumper, I mean, I voted for him twice and may vote for him again. So that's not exactly a never Trumper, but I'm a shaky Trumper. So that means that I lie some of the time. Okay. All right. Just trying to get that straight. But anyway, that's what he said. And, that's a problem if we don't recognize it, that there were Republicans who did not like Donald Trump and who voted down ballot for Republican candidates. But you know what? Doesn't mean Trump can't win. Doesn't mean he can't win. All right, we could move on, unless you have another comment. You want to call me a liar again? But
no, that's okay.
All right. So, moving back to, we can agree, our fat governor Pritzker. He actually asked Governor Abbott for mercy. And asked him not to send migrants up to Chicago during the cold spell.
It just occurred to me as I wonder if Pritzker could ask to be named ambassador of American Samoa so he could feel thin.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned it. And that's a variation on your Rom joke. And by the way, why I got to get back into Tim's good graces because I accused him of being a liar. Why did Rom want to be the ambassador to Japan?
Because so he could feel tall.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Pritzker, I mean, this is tantamount to him calling for a ceasefire against Texas. I mean, what are you talking about? You asked for all these. Well, obviously,
sure.
He asked for the migrants, the migrants. Look, we've already lost the battle because the definitions. They're now migrants. We may as well. Why don't we just call them future Nobel
laureates,
economists? Because there's got to be 5 of them in the bunch. I'm sure there are. So
you think?
Well, not in this bunch. Not in this bunch.
Seems to me, if you're a Nobel laureate, you're going to stay in the country that where you were named from. It's you're kind of elite there.
No. Well, look, you don't have Nobel laureates necessarily, but because Bob Dylan's got to be homegrown. I mean, you can't really get. Yeah. But all right. Speaking of the danger of these migrants and others, so who Andy Shaw is? You know him at all?
Name's familiar.
Okay, well, I mean, he was on TV in Chicago, and he's kind of a friend of mine since he went on Twitter. It's Twitter, excuse me. I got Paige Sporanic on
that's
the brain.
That's a different site. That's one that Elon did not buy, but subscribes to.
Don't ask me about the temperature in the Twin Cities. Say that 10 times real fast. But anyway, Andy Shaw used to be on Channel 7 and Channel 5 before that, and he's a longtime liberal. And he wrote a piece for the Sun-Times, which is the liberal newspaper in Chicago. Well, the Tribune is too, but it's even more liberal. And he wrote a piece saying that he feels unsafe walking Chicago streets, which is kind of an amazing admission there. Now, I can't wrap my head around these things properly because there's Andy Shaw, a liberal, saying he feels unsafe. But I've mentioned this before. There's this guy, Matt Paprocki of the Illinois Policy Institute, which is a conservative outfit. Mm-hmm. I used to call it one of Dan Proft's fronts. And he spent about 40 minutes on with Jonah Goldberg on his podcast last year. They talked about everything about Chicago except Chicago crime until about 40 minutes in. And then he even said that he never had a problem walking the streets himself. You know, I'd ask Dan Proft if he feels safe walking the streets, because I don't care. But he lives in Naples, Florida, and that's my only concern would be, you know, is my mother crossing one of the streets from her condo there. So
I have two.
what's a
I have.
fella
I
to
have
do?
two friends. I have two friends from Michigan that have moved to Chicago years ago, and both
Yeah.
pretty liberal. Both
Yeah.
looking at getting a concealed weapon.
All right, it's anecdotal, but anecdotes
Yeah, absolutely
are
anecdotal.
data. They're data on this broadcast. Where do they live in the Chicago area?
Well, why is Andy Shaw why is he not anecdotal?
No, he's anecdotal. He's as much
Okay,
anecdotal.
okay,
And
okay.
you know, Andy Shaw, I would expect would be more likely to yell, "This is MAGA country." But he didn't.
One is Pilsen, the other one's Lincoln Square.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. So that's really something. But I just don't, you know, because I always feel like the proverbial lady from Tinley Park who used to call into Wally Phillips, you know, according to Steve Dahl, you know, was afraid of going into the city, and Wally, can you give me directions to O'Hare? And I'm a bit, and am I just that, or is it real that
my two friends
scared?
Are Chicago cheerleaders. They love the city. They've been living there for years. One of them's been there about 12 years. The other one's been there at least no, actually one's probably close to 20 years. The other one's like 12. So, I mean, they're not from Tinley.
Well, then that makes me wonder, because just yesterday there was a story that came out that the White Sox are actually looking to build, not out of the city or move to Nashville, but a new stadium at Clark and Roosevelt. And I'm thinking that can't be exactly the best. I mean, that's east. That's way east, but that can't be the best thing. As a matter of fact, the first thing I did to joke about it was, I'm wondering if there will be sniper fire from projects across the street, because I did that with Jonathan Brandmeier when the new Comiskey was being built.
Sure.
And Mike Royko took us to task over that, which is one of the hallmarks of my career. That Royko, I mean, he didn't mention us by name, but he definitely was referring to us. And yeah, all right, thank you, Mike. Yeah, feather in my cap. But yeah, if they've got,
what did he refer to you as
just these, you know, these clowns on the radio,
these clowns, jablokis or something like that?
Clown, you know, radio jock jerks, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, Royko, if you read Royko's stuff from back then, he could never get published nowadays. There's a column that he wrote. This one guy sent it to me once. Robin sent it to me. This is column he wrote about getting a ride from a taxi driver, like a foreign taxi driver, and he's calling him every slur because the guy didn't have the directions. You know, they didn't have Waze back then, and it was the cab driver didn't know the directions, and he's yelling at the taxi driver, and the whole column's about that, and it's one gigantic ethnic slur after another, and you know, and this was the liberal columnist for the Chicago Sun-Times at the time, Mike Royko. So, they don't make him like Royko anymore. I thought there we go. There, another shot. Thank you of Trump's attorney. By the way, I think she just overturned Plessy versus Ferguson in the Supreme Court again. It would have been done before, but she did it again. She's so damn good. Okay, Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
Well, check this out. This fool Charlie Kirk now says he's going to come out and every week discredit Dr. King because he believes that the Civil Rights Act should never have been passed, and that, as they say, it ushered in a permanent DEI-type bureaucracy. And so check this out. Kirk, he says in his quote, we're going to be hitting him every week. Yeah, on the day of the Iowa caucus, it's MLK Day. We're going to do the things you're not supposed to do. We're going to tell the truth about MLK Jr. You're going to tune in.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Tim, before we get into Charlie Kirk, that young punk, I think he's like 30 years old and he's worth more money than 25,000 of me already. But and that's no reason to be envious. This just in, I just read this tweet. According to Federal Election Commission records, Trump affiliated PACs have paid Alina, is that how you pronounce her name? Habba. That's the Trump attorney. How much money do you think she made in legal fees between February of 22 and June of 23? There she is, Alina, hereinafter to be referred to as Alina Hubba-hubba. How much do you think she got in legal fees?
Well, let's see. The Fanny's boyfriend made $600,000, so it's probably got to be at least double that. So I'll say 1.2 million.
Pretty good. I mean, considering you have no legal education or anything like that, it's $2,528,408.06 that she's gotten. So she must know what she's doing.
She's anyway, got a sixth sense.
No question about that. So back to Charlie Kirk. So I didn't read, or listen to Charlie Kirk and how he's going to. I think I know the gist of it. It's that Martin Luther King was a commie and he led us down the path of the Great Society, and we've been paying for it ever since. Something like that. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean the dirt on MLK. I mean that's pretty much already out there, right? I mean,
well, everything. We know. The personal dirt is the philandering and the plagiarism. But all I can say is, I'll make a trade, Charlie. I will, if you let us have Martin Luther King, and then we can also keep George Washington, who was a slave owner. All right. I heard that Martha, George died. Okay. And he didn't free the slaves when he died, but Martha started freeing them, if I heard this correctly, in part because she was afraid she was going to be poisoned by some of them, some of the house slaves. So, what? Time for manumission here. Anyway.
Well, I mean, look what happened to her husband. He would have been fine if they would have stopped bleeding him.
Right. So, look, Luther King is remembered for one thing, and that is that the "I have a dream" speech. Content of character, not the color of your skin. That's it. You could summarize it in a sentence, and that's why we lionize him. Look, if anybody should have a beef with Martin Luther King, it would be me, because my father was Martin Luther King's hardware store guy. I'm not kidding. My father had a hardware store at 16th and Springfield on the west side of Chicago. Martin Luther King bought a building. You can read about it in Jonathan Ives' new biography of King. It's much celebrated by just about everybody. He had a building that he bought at 15th and Avers, I think it is, which is right around the corner. And I remember back in the day, this janitor would come in, and he was from Martin Luther King's building. So, and then that hardware store that my father had went up. So
MLK never came in there looking for a screw, huh?
Hi-yo, there you go. No, that was next door. The Buffalo was next door to my father's hardware store. Anyway, he goes on when Martin Luther King was assassinated. That hardware store went up. Okay, I mean it was destroyed, looting. We even called up the store. Our family from our basement in Skokie, we called it up to see what was going on, and somebody answered, and one of the looters just left the phone off the hook, and so we could hear the store being looted. But Jewish humor, we laugh about it. Oh, we're leaving it at Tefka again. Okay, yeah. All right. So look, I don't like the political legacy that led to the Great Society and trillions spent and wasted and all that bad stuff. But I'm willing to say, okay, Martin Luther King, I have a dream, content of character, color of the skin. So Charlie, you're just trying to. I know you're just a young shock jock. You've already made millions of dollars. You got a gig nationwide.
Listen to you sounding like Royko right there.
Totally. I'm totally Royko. I don't know. Oh,
I know. I'm curious though. Is does the left still embrace Martin Luther King?
Probably
I know they'll jump to his defense, but content of character over color, that's 180 degrees opposed from DEI.
No, look, the only basis he'd have for becoming the president of Harvard now would be the plagiarism. But as far as the content, the character, no, he'd be ixnay. Look, by the way, little technical workshop right here. Pardon me, Eddie Schwartz at Technical Workshop. I didn't start the clock. How much time has elapsed?
That was 5 minutes and 36 seconds.
5:36. Okay. So carry the 2. I'm doing my Jethro Bodine 3. All right. So we got about 5.5 or so. All right. So
6 minutes left.
Yeah. So the did you see where, speaking of DEI, the airlines, the FAA, DEI, they want to encourage getting people working in the aviation industry, people with severe intellectual disabilities. I mean, that's not an Onion headliner, severe now. Here's the thing.
That's what Biden did when he appointed Buttigieg.
Sure, I get it. I totally get it. But do you remember Stan Freberg at all?
I do.
Okay, so Stan Freberg was this great comedian in the 1950s and 60s, but he went over the line once. This airline, Pacific Southwest Airlines, hired him, and he decided to do an ad where he had a nervous pilot, a guy was sweating bullets, was nervous about flying.
Uh-huh.
The whole airline tanked after that ad, because people want to feel safe when they're flying. They didn't appreciate comedy about that. People want their pilots all to sound like Chuck Yeager, as Tom Wolfe brilliantly explained in The Right Stuff. I think pilot voices go through a harmonizer anyway, no matter where they're from, so that they all sound like a Southern guy right here. Yeah, we're cruising at 900,000. We're right next to Uranus. So yeah. So we don't want, you don't
want a deaf pilot. That's going to make people a little uncomfortable on the flight. I think.
Look, I never minded that. I worked in TV where I got replaced by minorities who were not qualified. Okay, but it's fine. It's TV. Nobody dies over a sports score. Okay, I get it. It's all cosmetic, but people are really flying in airplanes, and you don't want to have anything happen. Now, did you see there was ground collision in O'Hare the other day? And I'm hoping that this isn't the result of DEI. We can't explain everything, but I kind of wish there had been DEI about 40 years ago. Do you remember Captain Over from played by Peter Graves in the movie Airplane? He had to keep it a secret, his penchant for taking boys under his wings, so to speak. But now,
you like gladiator movies, Billy?
Under DEI, he wouldn't have to do that. Is there anybody back there, any young boy who likes gladiator movies? Anyway.
Yeah, well, that's we're not allowed to call them pedophiles anymore. They're now minor and attracted individuals. Did you know that?
Really?
MAIs, yeah, minor attracted individuals.
Well, that's MII. Oh, MAI. Okay, yeah. So then there's the president of United Airlines. You can't make this stuff up. He's a drag queen. This guy named Kirk. I'm making because I get fooled on Twitter at least once a week, but I think this guy really is a drag queen. The president of the guy named Kirby. Is a
and he likes doing divas. He likes lip syncing to divas. He's there's a video of him doing Lady Gaga. There's one of them doing lip syncing to Taylor Swift, and there's another one lip syncing to an artist who I can't remember because I've never heard her music. But
I didn't delve that deeply into.
Yep. He was. And most of it was done when he was with other airlines. Was with U.S. Air.
So this was
president of U.S. Air. Yep.
So when he went into the interview, at United. He said,
"Yeah, there's the purple hair. That's the one I don't know.
Yeah, he said,
I don't know who he's doing there.
It looked activities.
He actually kind of looks kind of, if I was just scrolling by, I'd linger on that picture until I figured it out.
All right.
He's in pretty good shape.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely wonderful. So there's a story. Channel 9. I got to pick on when I'm not picking on Don Lemon. They alternate, each week. They had a piece, I believe it was about how you shouldn't shovel the snow if you're a heart attack candidate. Which is interesting because you remember we talked last week that Channel 9 actually made fun of Channel 2 for telling people how to walk on the ice. But now all of a sudden they're going to tell us what everybody knows with a straight face and be serious that, after a snowstorm, there is a risk in shoveling. So I don't know what to believe from Channel 9 anymore. I mean,
I had an uncle die of shoveling snow. Yeah. Yeah, he was one of the casualties years and years ago. And when I was going out to shovel, I said, "Don't worry, honey." I said, I said, "I'll be careful. My uncle died shoveling snow." She goes, "Oh, okay, yeah, be careful." And I said, "Yeah, but it's different though. He was a fat old Polak." And she went, "Okay."
And you are.
and she goes, "Okay, that's fine." And then two seconds later was, "Wait a minute."
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap.
NBA champion, two-time NBA Executive of the Year, represented by his wife Thelma, Basketball Hall of Famer and former Bulls general manager Jerry Krause.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. And Tim, I have to ask you, because I've asked everybody else in my circle, where were you when the Bulls fans booed the widow of Jerry Krause? May I ask?
Tell me when it happened. I can get it.
It's like Friday night about 8 o'clock.
Friday night. I was watching Yellowstone. That's what I was doing.
I'm glad you asked me. This has a whole January 6th feel to it. I was watching reruns of The Office, and I got a cryptic text from my son-in-law. Must have assumed I was watching this ceremony. Heck, I didn't even watch The Last Dance, even though I was in it for a second. Like Michael Jordan, I don't show up. Michael Jordan should have sent Sachin Littlefeather in his stead to this Ring of Honor ceremony that they had for the Bulls. Well, first of all, I'm convinced that Ray Epps brought in a bunch of migrants from Texas to boo Thelma Krause, the widow. If you see a picture of her right there, it's the saddest thing that you've ever seen. And there was I used to say about Blackhawk fans at the stadium that it took only 10 or 12,000 bad ones to ruin it for the rest of us. And here's the thing. So they boo her because they hated Jerry Krause. Okay. And there was a picture of Jerry Krause, the general manager. He was a little fat guy. He was the general manager, and Michael Jordan was the hero. And they sided with Jordan, but there was universal condemnation of the fans. Maybe one sportscaster went on Twitter and said, "Oh, they weren't booing her; they were booing him." But I really want to take.
They were saying Bruce. That's what it was.
Yeah,
they were saying Bruce.
Here's what Bruce wants to say about it right now. I say you don't let the widow off the hook. Okay. I think Thelma was a part of it. First of all, we always want to play. Oh, it's. The damsel in distress, a patronizer. Look, if she looked like vanilla Anina Habba, Donald Trump's attorney, I'd have a whole different view of the thing.
Sure.
But, so there's great shot. Yeah. Do you know that she recently petitioned the Supreme Court and they will be hearing arguments from her on overturning
Clarence Thomas is going to be hearing that.
he's going to be popping open the Coke can. Yeah. So look,
it's Jerry Kavanaugh's gonna go, man, if I knew you in high school.
If we're only 1981 right now. Okay. So anyway, I look, I don't think Thelma was all innocent in this. She was part of it with Jerry Krause. Yeah, I actually read stuff about it that, she's no, wallflower or anything like that. She is a tough old lady. And I say she wanted to give it to Michael Jordan as much as her husband Jerry did. So go ahead and boo the widow. That's what I'm saying.
There you go. Now I'm curious. I want to go back a little bit. You were in the movie for a second, but you never watched it. So what'd you do? Fast forward through the whole thing?
The best thing, I got to tell you, some of the best moments of my career, I won an Emmy in one year. I had Rob Feeder of the Sun-Times call me, you won an Emmy. And I said, that's great. And I wasn't even there. That it's the Brando moment, right? It's Woody Allen. No, I'm going to play in a club. I'm going to play bad clarinet in a club in New York because I don't want to accept an Academy Award for Annie Hall. Okay, be that way. But no, I was in the movie, and it's the movie, it's the series, The Last Dance, and I'm in it for 1 second. You see me sticking a microphone out with alligator arms toward Michael Jordan because I don't really want to talk to him, but I want to pretend like I'm trying to talk to him as he's walking by. And but I'm in it, and people were like, "We saw you. We saw you."
Oh, so people told you were in it.
Oh, totally. And I watched enough Bulls games. I don't need to watch that and relitigate the whole Jordan era. I'm sure there are enough egos on both sides. Who knows what the real truth is? But yeah, that was really something. So I'm sure that you were as upset as anybody else was over the fact that playoff game between the Chiefs and the Dolphins was not on NBC but on Peacock paid subscription. And you had to buy that. Were you upset about that at all?
No, because I got we finished everything we wanted to watch on Paramount Plus.
And you bought Peacock?
So I canceled Paramount Plus and got Peacock because we wanted to watch Yellowstone. That's
what I thought. You were mentioning Yellowstone, so you already had it. But you're the only person in the world who got Peacock for Yellowstone and not for this game. So here's the picture. Here's the tweet, and it shows Adrian Garrett, who was the color announcer for this game. They didn't even have Chris Collinsworth for it. They saved him for the next day. But he's sitting there next to Mike Tirico, and Tirico, I believe, is saying to him at this point, "Do I look fat in this jacket?" And the answer is yes. Mike, you do look fat in this jacket. But the game was actually so boring, and they tried to make it like a commercial-free fourth quarter because you figure people are paying for the subscription. Well, we'll make it commercial-free, but it wasn't break-free. Okay, so they had these. I would have rather watched ads during these breaks than all the filler analysis that they had, because it wasn't like they kept the game going, and the game was out of reach because they were playing on this frozen field, and Miami was freezing, and they didn't have a chance. There were 3 scores down, but they kept trying to, because it's obligatory to make it look like you're still trying to play. They were throwing passes that were incomplete, which stopped the clock and made the game go even longer. And I think they were trying to, they felt that if they played long enough, you couldn't cancel the subscription. So
they just chatted. Have they no cheerleaders?
It's kind of cold there. It was colder than Nikki Haley's wit that day. So, all right. So then Howard Stern complained on satellite radio, apparently, about how people had to pay for the football game. I mean, it's a guy that you got to pay to listen to is complaining about that. And, if
next up after the break, we have Alanis Morissette coming into the studio.
Exactly. I was thinking, if we knew that La Rochefoucauld was doing radio, hypocrisy is the tribute that vice pays to virtue, I wouldn't have let my satellite radio subscription lapse. Did you ever have Sirius XM? Did you ever?
I do have it.
You have it because we canceled it.
I do have it,
and I don't stop getting calls from them, which I never answer. Oh,
you should, but by about a year after you cancel it, they're pretty much giving it to you for free.
Oh, what? How does that work? What?
It's really funny. It's so many
Mhm.
people cancel that they have a program that if you cancel, the longer it goes after you cancel, the lower the price is going to go.
Okay, all right. Well, we just got rid of it.
I think I'm getting it for
is Mel
$5 a month right now.
Oh, okay. Is Mel Karmazin still behind that satellite thing? You know who Mel Karmazin is?
Mm.
He was like the Svengali for Stern or whatever. He, went back on terrestrial, and then I think he went over to Sirius. I don't know if he's still there or not, but he had a cow because I got a ton of money to be John Brandmeyer's sidekick on WCKG. It only lasted 1 year, but he actually said it was the most money that they ever had to pay a sidekick. And he was really upset about it. It was peanuts, but you know how these guys are. And I can't believe it. And so shut up, Mel.
I'm not getting Howard Stern. I didn't. They wouldn't give me Howard Stern for the price.
Well, you got to pay extra for that.
Yeah, I don't want.
Look,
I like old time radio when I have long drives.
Yeah, no, that's great. I would listen to like the songs of the '60s. I would do that. Other than that, they have a comedy. You ever listen to the comedy sketch?
I'm on the comedy. I'm on the comedy.
You're on it.
I'm on the comedy.
I wish I knew when your bit was coming up. I would listen to it.
It's about once a day that you'll.
Oh, really?
If you listen to Jeff and Lair's comedy roundup, you'll hear me.
All right. Well, maybe
they run it almost every day.
Maybe I'll get that again. But
it's I like the song, the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and above are the music stations I listen to, and I love old time radio.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this: if this qualifies as comedy, maybe we could close the show with this. See how it goes. I saw this on Twitter, and I found it funny. Can we play this, Tim? It's the guy in the grocery store. He's got the light beer in his cart, and he goes up to the store microphone. And he's going up to the store microphone, and he takes it, and he and it's like everything you always wanted in a beer and gas. and I just
somebody pointed out that every photo of Taylor Swift looks like she's doing that. Every photo you see of Taylor Swift looks like she's doing that exact same stunt.
All right, okay. It's a constipation. Has you ever written a song about that? So yeah, that's wonderful.
Maybe. If this relationship is the solid one, what else is she going to write about? If she gets happily married.
They're apparently serious. And meanwhile, Kelsey's brother is retiring from football because the Eagles were so bad. It's funny because that guy just expelled in there, and I myself am running out of gas, and we have still about a minute left in the show. Where are you appearing? Where are you appearing next, Tim? There we go. We got to show Alina Hubba-hubba, who
what's her real name? We should call her by her real name,
Habba,
at least.
I believe.
Habba? Oh, okay.
Alina Habba, who will be arguing to overturn Marbury versus Madison.
$5 million a year.
Yeah, and I think court, especially Kavanaugh, is and Thomas will be favoring her. So it could be 6-3. I don't see Kagan on her. Well, maybe. Yeah,
Kagan might.
Yeah.
It's and we don't know anything about Sotomayor. Somebody keeps that's brought up all the time. Is we know all about Clarence Thomas's wife, but we know nothing about if even Sotomayor is married.
Really? Well, it's none of anybody's business.
Oh, yeah.
In that case, only business. It's only anybody's business if ProPublica says it's somebody's business. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
And that's the Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.